When I first saw the theme, first of all, I was so excited that there were tickets left and that my children are out of town. So my husband and I could both come together. We've been on a lot of grand adventures together, and when I first heard the theme tonight, I thought, well, shit. I blew my load in March with my Kentucky Headhunter story, and that was my brush with fame. I'm like, I'm not going to tell a story. But the more I thought about it, I just could not stop thinking about Ed Weinstock. Hear me out. So I may or may not be stalking Ed Weinstock. We've had a long history together. As with my first story, it starts in a restaurant. My first job out of high school was at the Yorktown Hotel working breakfast shift, which started at 5:30 a.m. If any of you know me, you know this is not a time where I am built to be awake, but I was like, I have to have this job. So we get the job, and I'm working, and WGAL's building used to be in the Yorktown Hotel, or very connected to it. And Ed Weinstock would come in every day. The shift was 6 until 1 or 2 if you had to close. And Ed Weinstock would come in every day for lunch, where he would come in and steal a copy of the USA Today. Now, I know that Ed works for a news company, and he can very well get his own copy of the USA Today. But he comes in and picks up a copy at the door. They're complimentary at the hotel. And he takes it, and he comes over, and at that time, they served a buffet. So he would come over to the buffet with it tucked under his arm, and he would look and sniff and look and stir, and then he'd just be like, and walk out and steal our USA Today. Over the years, that was our first interaction. Over the years, being very involved in town, as I am, we have had a chance to interact with him on many occasions, so much so that we invented a term for Ed's style of interviewing. We call it getting Weinstocked. If you've ever been interviewed by Ed Weinstock, you will know that he'll sneak up on you out of nowhere. One day, my husband was walking home from work, and Ed just popped out from behind a car and was like, "What do you think about the potholes on Roosevelt Avenue?" He used to come out to do the creek cleanups, and the one time during the creek cleanup, I will never forget this story. It was so hilarious. It starts out as a shot of Ed. No, I'm sorry, a shot of the trees. It's nothing but trees. And it just pulls in closer and closer and closer. And then there's Ed, right there, talking about the cleanup and how you could come help. So I've been Weinstock myself. I served on the planning commission here in the city for many years, and when we finally, after much yelling and debate, got the comprehensive plan passed, there was a big signing in the mayor's office, press conference, blah, 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 but nobody else wanted to talk to the press. Like, ask Heather, she'll tell you all about coffee shops. And I was like, great. It was like 100 degrees. I was working my stand at Market, and I had my 18-month-old son strapped to my back. So I walk down in this heat, I'm melting, we get there, the mayor's office is an air conditioning, this is the old place, and we're just like all melting, and everyone's like, just sign the papers already, we want to go home. I've got Genevieve Ray watching my son. She's like, talk to him, I'll hold his hand. I'm like, okay, fine. It's like, please tell us, about the comprehensive plan and what is, so great. It's like, well, I think that you should be able to walk to a coffee shop in your neighborhood. And in my neighborhood, the closest coffee shop is Turkey Hill. And I would really like something, a little less truck stop. I didn't say that because I'm diplomatic sometimes. Anyway, so it's gotten to the point where I'm not necessarily stalking him, but I am probably getting updates from my friends whenever Ed's doing something weird, which he does a lot. You know, Ed looks like the character from Family Guy. That's the news guy, Tom. You know, he's got the mustache. He is the quintessential. And when he dies, this town will be at a huge loss. So they'll be like, oh, you know, Ed is standing next to some fallen bricks in the city, and they'll send me little updates. And I'm like, oh, I got to go check him out. And I'll just remember the last thing with my love affair with Ed was when he was at my house in Farquhar Park, right near there, and a bunch of trees have fallen down. And I'm driving by, and I was like, holy shit, there's Ed. And I like pull over, and I look over, and there's Ed, and he's holding a broken branch, like a big club, underneath this tree that's like half broken and all these branches laying around, and he's like getting ready to go live on WGAL. I was like, oh, tonight at 10, Widowmakers in the park, they're coming for you. But my coup de grace with Ed was I run the Humans of York, PA Facebook page, and the one night I was leaving work on New Year's Eve, and I had a giant bunch of balloons. And I'm like, I'm going to hand these balloons out to everybody. And I walked to the square, and it's completely deserted except for Ed Weinstock and his camera. And I was like, hey, Ed, can you wear this hat and hold these balloons so I can take your picture? He's like, absolutely. And that is the latest update in my love affair with Ed Weinstock.